I have a pretty wild encounter, and I do have the picture that goes along with this story that will be placed at the end of this encounter. Let me know in the comments what you all think about this one. It's a little different than what we normally do, but I think this one here has a little bit of a scare to it, and I'm going to drop this. Uh, I'm going to drop it in our AI channel and see what everybody thinks about this. And I may drop it in our other channel too. It's a pretty good one. So let's get into it. Sometimes moments are perfectly timed, not by design, but by pure luck or circumstance. One specific moment out of a million that could be captured with the shutter click of a lens is frozen in time forever. A moment that will become the cause of a rousing debate and to be continuously scrutinized. For some of it's proof, for others it's a fanciful optical illusion. This was the controversy that took a small town in England by surprise nearly 30 years ago. A photograph of a young girl set in the middle of a raging inferno captured on a 35mm film. But was she really there at all? Some of the people that were involved in this bizarre occurrence were interviewed for a television series called Paranormal Files. It was a broadcast by UKTV and aired in 2012. Although this television show is no longer on air in the United Kingdom, episodes of it have since been uploaded to YouTube via the content provider. So, what was it that took place and caused such a stir nearly 3 decades ago? The incident in question happened in 1995 in the small market town of Wem, which is located in Shropshire, England. A late evening was thrown into chaos when, much of the horror to the town's locals, they witnessed a vicious fire break out and engulf their small town hall. They stood helpless as the blazing heat of the fire worked to reduce the hall to ash, and although fire crews responded quickly to the emergency calls for help, it was to no avail. Even though the fire crews worked through the night, dousing the flames and keeping them from spreading to other structures, steadily building was to become nothing more than a charred ruin by morning's light. It was at these first sunlight rays of dawn that it became safe enough to investigate teams to enter the smoking mass of debris. It was in this charcoal-encrusted heap that the first mystery of this case would present itself. The mystery being that the cause of the fire couldn't be determined and would remain completely elusive. It is recorded as unknown, even to this day, nearly 30 years later. One would think that would be a mystery enough, the unsolved ignition of a Wims town hall, but an unexpected twist was soon to arise out of the building's ashes, proved to be far more intriguing than the identifiable cause of the blaze itself. It wouldn't be long before seemingly unrelated pieces of information would start coming together to form a very unexpected picture of a rather frightful puzzle. The priority at the center of this tragedy, of course, was the town hall was going to have to be rebuilt with as little delay as possible. It was going to be a huge project, so demolition and construction crews were brought in post and in haste to work alongside the fire brigade's investigation team. One of the first people on the scene in the morning after the devastating fire was demolitions expert Roger Stokes. He spoke of his experience in a later interview, describing a strange occurrence that took place shortly after he began his walkthrough with the fire officer. They both needed to look at the damage so they could assess what they needed to do and what needed to be done in order to make the building safe for the demolition workers to come in. The two of them walked up to the building's metal fire escape, which had thankfully survived the fire. Roger quickly made a note of the sooty oil residue that was deposited over everything. As they made their way onto the fire escape landing, they noticed a series of what appeared to be footprints that tracked diagonally across it. He said in his interview that his first thought to cross his mind was that these were a child's footprints. These gave him the notion that curious young troublemakers had been playing in the aftermath of the fire, which was not wholly out of the ordinary. Bored youngsters, after seeing such a wildly exciting event. According to Roger, he stated his concern to the fire officer, saying, "The kids have been up here early this morning, haven't they?" The fire officer seemed a bit confused at first and told Roger that no, there had been nobody up there at all. He insisted that himself and Roger were the first two people to be there in the morning, that fire and police officers had guarded the building all night. The fire officer then went on to explain that there had been fire crews and police officers on duty, and continued to tell him all night. So no one could have snuck onto the building to go goofing around. Roger found this to be a little inexplicable. But as the reconstruction of the small town hall was a priority, the pressure was on to brook no delays. So he wrote the incident off, at least until a few weeks later. In his interview, Roger Stokes went on to tell another strange incident that he heard took place on the site. He stated that one of the construction laborers, along with the site agent, saw a vaguely luminescent figure on the remains of the second floor when they were going through the building's rubble. Although they couldn't see a head on the figure, they said it looked like somebody wearing a long dress. As word of this incident spread throughout the construction site, it became well known that the construction workers and the site agent had highlighted it out of there. They were ready to end the investigation and demolish this troublesome building. As people continued to pass along chatter of inexplicable footprints and strange sightings, questions began to circulate. Had something sinister happened on the night of the fire? No tales of a previous haunting or other sightings were mentioned in relation to Wim's Town Hall before its destruction. So this incident was a novelty. Soon another seemingly unrelated piece of this strange puzzle was about to be uncovered. When the demolition crew had finally moved to clear the debris, they found one small section of the original hall which had managed to survive, charred but intact. A commemorative plaque dedicated to the Great Fire of Wim was salvaged from the decimated building. The fire to which the plaque had been dedicated occurred back in March of 1677. Apparently, this great blaze first broke out in a cottage that once sat about 50 yards from Wim's modern town hall. The fire swept through the entire town and virtually destroyed it. At the end of it all was said that the scapegoat for the cause of this fiery devastation was a 14-year-old servant girl, young Jane Churn. She had reportedly been preparing a fire in the cottage and accidentally caught to the thatched roof and spread uncontrollably. The survival of this plaque, oddly commemorating a serious fire, was yet another strange coincidence to add to this bizarre event. The odd coincidences were adding up amongst the populace of Wim, and people started to believe it. Inexplicable footprints, a strange sighting, and now the survival of a plaque commemorating a great fire started by a young girl over 300 years ago. Speculation and intrigue intensified as knowledge of these details spread throughout the working crews at the site of the town hall ruins. It was now that one final piece was about to fall into place. A crucial witness from the night of the fire emerged, which would soon propel the mystery to the front pages of the press. An amateur photographer, Tony O'Reilly, came forward with the photograph he had recently developed. He had taken several photos of the burning building on the night of the fire and was a bit shocked by the photo in particular. Tony detailed his experience in his own interview about this case. He said that he was diving and driving through town that specific night when he noticed a large plume of smoke billowing up into the sky. He stated that he always had his cameras with him, so of course when he saw the large column of smoke he immediately made his way over to the site of the town hall fire and began taking as many pictures as possible. Tony said that he made his way all around the building, taking pictures as he went. One of these pictures he took at the back of the town hall, where the fire escape was located, When he finally got around to developing the negatives, he said he noticed a spot on one of the negatives that shouldn't have been there. This spot was sticking out just over top of the railings by the fire escape, and with negatives being rather small, he couldn't make out what it was. He went ahead with developing it onto the photo paper, and according to his interview statement, he said, as he was swirling it around in the development solution, he saw the head of a young girl as the picture started to become visible. She was standing on the fire escape with the flames all around her, a connecting detail that made the photograph all the more strange. Is that the figure in the photo that was standing at the very spot where Roger Stokes said he noticed the footprints on the morning following the fire? Now, to be clear on the few facts, it is very unlikely, nigh impossible, that anyone could have just wandered into the burning building unnoticed and then climbed into the fire escape and simply stood there where allegedly the photograph suggests that the young girl would have stood. If anybody had been standing there, the conflagration would have caused their clothes to ignite within seconds, and their skin would have quickly erupted into blisters from the intense heat. No human being could have stood there at all, let alone for any length of time. Suffice to say, the photograph soon came under intense scrutiny and was analyzed by a private company called Parasearch. They were looking for the means to reasonably explain that it had been captured by this controversial picture. Signs of double exposure or tampering to suggest possible hoax. According to the company's founder, David Taylor, after having looked at the original negative with high-powered digital enhancing equipment, they could see no evidence of trickery, such as double exposure, fraud, or anything of the sort. Knowing that their findings would come under scrutiny themselves, they decided to approach Dr. Vernon Harrison, who had once served as the president of the Royal Photography Society. Dr. Harrison examined the photograph and negative for himself. He then stated that he could find no evidence of tampering or signs of double exposure, either. Unlike Parasearch, however, he did offer an alternate explanation for what had been captured by the camera in the one specific moment as the shutter closed. In Dr. Harrison's opinion, what Tony O'Reilly had caught on film was a large chunk of wood that happened to be in the act of falling. In essence, he believed it was a piece of the debris falling from the building at just the right moment, at just the right angle, to create a play of light in the shadow and cause a pareidolia effect. This explanation did little to alleviate the controversy over the photo. A burning log, a clever hoax, or was it just Jane Churn, the young servant? I'm certainly willing to believe the trickery of light and shadows, caught at just the right moment on a film, a split second on either side of what moment of a picture produced, could produce a different looking object, but I don't believe it would produce what is in this picture. You know, I looked at the picture. I can guarantee you that it's not Miss Churn. I don't believe that a log falling would produce a picture the way it looks on this photograph you're about to see. I do believe that when they were in there and they were having all these things going on and they kept thinking about it, looking for it, and giving it place and giving it power, that what happened is they saw a demon. I believe that's exactly what happened. When we go looking for things like that or we give it power, that's whenever we start seeing it, they start showing themselves. So, yeah, I believe this is a simple fact of a demon. What do you guys think? I look forward to seeing your comments. Don't forget, I am working on this channel slowly, guys. I'm running 3 channels, and fighting for Hunter takes a lot of my time. But I will be dropping more videos on this channel, and thank you for watching. And also, if I drop this on my original channel, I hope you all have enjoyed it also, as it will be a double upload. So let me know if these are the kinds that you want to watch. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, keep your head on a swivel, don't be something's dinner, and remember, you have the power to rebuke these things.